Hello and welcome to another morning, another edition of the update, bright and early on NTN. Today is Thursday, the 7th of January. My name is Jessie Leonce. If you're watching on air, online, a special good morning to you, residents here in St. Lucia. St. Lucians in the diaspora looking to keep abreast as to what's happening in St. Lucia. You're right, you're on the right channel. We are bringing you the latest developments coming from the government of St. Lucia. As usual, we have the latest COVID-19 updates coming for you later on in the broadcast. Heightened protocols coming into effect for the opening of the second school term for this academic year 2020 to 2021. We will be hearing from the Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, speaking on the ongoing consultation that is happening now with teachers, faculty of institutions that will be reopening fully to the students come 11th of January. So we'll be hearing from her in just a moment. Also, the tourism sector adjusts to continued pandemic disruptions in source markets. We had a press conference just yesterday from the St. Lucia Tourism Authority featuring the Tourism Minister, Honorable Dominic Fede, and he was speaking, giving us an update on the past year, essentially, of tourism performance and the forecast going into at least the next quarter of 2021. So we have that story and also the annual celebration of St. Lucia's Nobel laureates taking on a new mode. We have a report, and I will also go over some of the activities that have been scheduled for this month-long activity. So do stay tuned for those stories and more. We also have some bulletin information, the details of which are coming up on the other end of this break. Do stay with us.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow, for a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies, when her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul, and her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is St. Lucia. Let her inspire you.
Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining, a special good morning to you. This is the Morning Update live on NTN for today, Thursday, the 7th of January, 2021. And we have the Nobel Laureate Festival happening from the 11th to the 31st of January. Quite a few activities that have been scheduled. We also have the tourism sector adjusting to continued pandemic disruptions. We know in Great Britain, we have the lockdown, nationwide lockdown happening there. Also, a spike in cases in the U.S. by the thousands, as well as other factors which will be posing challenges to St. Lucia's tourism sector. And we have heightened protocols coming into effect for the opening of the second school term. The Ministry of Education, as we've indicated and outlined on several occasions and several broadcasts, has detailed plans for the reopening of schools come Monday, January 11th, 2021, following the abrupt closure due to community spread of COVID-19 last year. After an extensive consultation process, the ministry decided to open the second school term and to allow students to return to the classroom. However, this opening this month is being guided by strict protocols. During this week, from the 4th to the 8th, that is up until tomorrow, teachers are at their various institutions, the schools, for school term planning, meetings with the chief medical officer, and to receive psychosocial support. And this is being facilitated through counselors. Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobert, on Monday, January 4th, addressed a meeting of the stakeholders, including district education officers, principals, and heads of departments. Minister Rigobert spoke to the consultation during a live update to the nation held from the GIS studios yesterday, Wednesday, the 6th of January. Take a look.
The meetings held over the last 2 or 3 days in particular have been very detailed, outlining the various education-specific protocols and, very importantly, the education sector continuity plan in a COVID-19 environment. The latter is the outcome of a joint effort by the many partners aforementioned who participated meaningfully. I wish to thank the very hard-working caretakers, watchmen, groundsmen, and janitors who have had to work exceedingly hard to guarantee the readiness of schools to receive students.
That was a clip there from the Honorable Gail Rigobert, Education Minister, speaking on the consultation, the engagement with stakeholders, that is district education officers, principals, and heads of departments going into this new school term. And we know that while we fully understand what the new normal is, there's definitely an effort on the part of the Ministry of Education in collaboration with the Ministry of Health to ensure that persons are comfortable with entering the second term of this academic year. And we also have a clip from the Chief Education Officer, Dr. Meyer, Fiona Philip Meyer. The opening of the second school term is being guided by the Education Sector Continuity Plan, in addition to guidelines contained in the OECS Continuity Learning Plan, as well as regulations by the World Health Organization and UNICEF. Chief Education Officer Dr. Meyer informed that as with the reopening of school in September, all small school populations will operate using the whole school approach. So as I mentioned previously, and as put out by the Ministry of Education, there are two options. With schools that have a smaller population, the whole school will be allowed to return to the compound as normal. And with schools with a larger populations, even except for the South Louis Community College that will continue its virtual learning, these larger populations will be having classes in a phased approach. So you'll have some students coming in on certain days, but hopefully the aim is to have the students coming in per week or per cycle, at least 3 days per week or cycle.
We do have 34 schools that will be still on the alternate day approach because of the numbers that they have as part of the phased reopening of school. But what we've endeavored to do is to ensure that all of those students in those 34 alternate day schools get at least 3 days of face-to-face instruction, complemented by online presence and a virtual learning platform. So those individual schools will be contacted by the administration of the school as to their students and when they can come. Important for the public to note is that where possible, we have endeavored to ensure that all students of kindergarten, grade 6 and Form 5 return for as many face-to-face days as per the cycle. And that I speak to in relation to those 34 schools. You would note that many of those are secondary schools. We have in District 7, for example, only one school, and in District 8, only one school in that category. But as compared to, say, District 2, that has very large school populations, we have more schools using that method of instruction.
So in the return back to school, in the classroom, the students will be seated 3 feet apart from each other, and they are expected to wear their face masks or their face shields. A Chief Environmental Health Officer, Parker Ragnanan, was also at yesterday's press conference, and he did indicate that there will be mask breaks as determined by the teachers. He outlined the other safety measures to happen in the classroom and on the school compound overall as well.
We encourage that hand sanitizers be placed at strategic locations throughout the school, and therefore, indeed, assessments would have to be done to determine the best places to have these sanitizers located so that maximum use can begin from them. It is important for surfaces, the buildings, the floors, the desk, the classrooms, to be adequately cleaned and sanitized on a daily basis. So we expect that there's going to be intermittent disinfection that takes place. However, at the end of a full day of school, we expect that there's going to be a full-scale cleaning and disinfecting exercise that takes place. And as part of that, we encourage schools to educate the cleaning personnel, the janitors and so forth, as to how to use the disinfectants and the cleaning agents is important to know. We also encourage schools to develop a very clear cleaning schedule. Who is to clean, where they're to clean, how it's to be cleaned, so that everybody is guided, and therefore we have an effective cleaning and disinfecting exercise taking place within the schools.
That was Mr. Parker Ragnanan, the Chief Environmental Health Officer. They're speaking on the other safety measures at the school compounds. Sporting activities at schools are limited to small group physical engagements and non-contact sporting activities. Additionally, mass crowd gatherings at schools are not allowed and students and school staff upon the return to school must adhere to the established protocols, which include temperature checks, sanitizing of hands, physical distancing, and the wearing of masks. Not something new. This was, while we definitely appreciate what the virtual learning platforms were able to do, they were a boon for us coming out of the last academic year, coming into this new academic year, the first term. There's definitely an effort on the part of the Ministry of Education to see how the kids can return to the classroom. There are definite benefits to being in a physical space with your teacher, even with your classmates. You would have heard many of the kids saying that, yeah, school, class, studies and everything is great, but, they miss actually seeing their friends, and not to just reduce that whole classroom experience to seeing your friends, but it's definitely an opportunity for some sense of normalcy to return for the kids who their psycho situations are so fragile at times, and so it's important for that experience to be had, especially for the learning experience. So definitely there we hope parents can cooperate with the teachers, cooperate with administrators, the principals, ensure that you equip your children, not only sending them with their lunch kit and their school bag, but ensuring that there are stuff in there that takes into consideration the protocols. If you can give them a little bottle of hand sanitizer, ensure they have masks too. The kids running around and playing and going about their day might misplace one of them. It's good to have an extra one handy so that if they're boarding a bus or wherever they're going, that they are able to have a mask on their face as need be. So that's the update coming there from the Ministry of Education in a press conference held yesterday. We know prior to that, the Ministry of Education did equip the press with information to the reopening for the 11th of January of schools, primary and secondary schools here on island. We also know that the early childhood development centers, daycares, nurseries, preschools have also reopened. Some of them have reopened this week, have been able to reopen this week, something I'm very grateful for, having an infant myself. But the effort here and right now is to bring back some sense of normalcy to our situation. It's the new normal, albeit, but normalcy nonetheless. We will continue with the news in just a moment. We have an update on our COVID-19 situation, new cases to report, and an update on recoveries as well. When we come back, we'll have that, and also a tourism report we had a press conference from the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, just giving us an update, rounding off 2020, capping off 2020, more specifically the December period, and also our forecast going into this new year. So stay with us. We have that in just a moment.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Coming off of the break, we were discussing a press conference held yesterday by the Ministry of Education on the return to the classrooms. And we heard from Dr. Fiona Philip-Meyer, the Chief Education Officer, the Education Minister, the Honorable Gail Rigobert, as well as Parker Ragnanan, the Chief Environmental Health Officer, just speaking about the form that the return to the classrooms for this second term, the Hillary term, will take coming into the new year. I just saw a comment on our Facebook Live this morning that a suggestion that families who need masks for their kids to return to school, maybe donations can be made. Maybe the schools, the Ministry of Education can support with the provision of masks. To you, Dawn Marie McDonald, Happy New Year to you. Just want to let you know that we believe that the Ministry of Education is providing masks to the schools. So for in instances where kids may come to school without a mask, they will be provided with. Just to continue with the news this morning, tourism officials anticipate improved arrivals in the next quarter after the nationwide lockdown in Britain. And we know Britain is a major source market for St. Lucia for that sector. This and other challenges, we're looking at the United States challenges in terms of spikes in cases. These challenges to the sector at the start of the year has had a significant impact on the momentum built in December 2020. We heard from the Honourable Minister, Honourable Dominic Fady, speaking yesterday in a press conference indicating that a great stride was made for December 2020. I believe the figure of arrivals we had for that month, considering the circumstances of the global pandemic, was at 10,000. These issues were discussed at a press conference hosted by the St. Lucia Tourism Authority just yesterday from the Finance Administrative Center from Point Seraphim. We have a report. Take a look. St. Lucia is adjusting its approach to marketing the destination as pandemic disruptions in source markets continue into the new year. Britain enters another country-wide lockdown to combat the fast-spreading new variant of the coronavirus. Tourism Minister Honourable Dominic Fady says measures have been instituted in hopes of maintaining the sector.
We have been using innovative marketing techniques to see how best we can encourage individuals to be able to come to our shores in the numbers that would make it sustainable for our hotels to remain open and for the airlines to keep flying. We do anticipate that a number of the airlines are going to pull back and scale back in terms of the capacity, and that will no doubt affect arrivals.
Honourable Fady also acknowledges the fueled outbreaks in the United States, posing a major challenge to the sector as well.
There is a prevailing increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and the number of hospitalizations, as well as the stress on the healthcare sector within the United States, is also going to pose significant challenges on the ability of people to be able to travel. A new development now we're seeing is that a number of states are already requiring people to test on the way back, and that did not happen in the earlier stages of our reopening. But this is going to pose a new challenge. It is going to no doubt be an impediment for people to be able to travel.
The expected dip in arrivals due to further pandemic disruptions will break the momentum set in December 2020, which peaked at 10,000. While this represents 25% of figures recorded for that period in the previous year, it was a high performance under pandemic conditions.
I think that a lot of hotels had a very good last week of the year. Boxing Day arrivals registered over 1,000 people, which really went back close to the levels of arrivals that we would have had pre-COVID-19. So there was some flashes of brilliance, but the environment doesn't lend itself to being conducive for people to be able to travel in the volumes that they have over that period. So we expect to see tremendous fallout in comparison to how we have done in 2019 when we broke the record of about 423,000 visitors.
For the Government Information Service, I am Jessie Leonce reporting. And that report there coming off of the press conference held by the St. Lucia Tourism Authority just yesterday, the 6th of January. That was Wednesday, speaking on our performance for the latter part of 2020 and the forecast for this quarter and the next going into 2021. The Minister for Tourism, Honorable Dominic Fede, did indicate that the nationwide lockdown in Britain, as you know, in that country, they're grappling with the fast spreading new variant of the coronavirus. And so there's been a lockdown and many other measures being put in place in that part of the world to try to reduce the risk of transmission. And so the likelihood of individuals, while the flights are still ongoing, we have flights coming in from the UK. Many persons, students, what have you, are coming back home and whatnot. While we have that, we do have the effort on the part of the UK government to try to reduce their risk of transmission happening in that country. In the US, you also have a spike of cases by the thousands right now. We're seeing in many states the transmission is at a crazy rate right now, and we're also seeing something that is going to affect the tourism sector in our part of the world. The requirement now for some states upon returning from their vacation in our Caribbean destination that they must provide a negative PCR test going back to the US. So these things are posing challenges. However, we have been assured by the Tourism Minister, Honorable Dominic Fede, that there are innovative marketing strategies being implemented at this time to ensure that at least the way we've reopened the tourism sector, the degree to which we have reopened the sector, I believe he indicated 7,000 individuals back on the job. For tourism here in St. Lucia, they will be able to maintain, hopefully, this reopening and this return to work for these individuals and the reopening of the hotels and what have you. So that update there coming from the St. Lucia Tourism Authority in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism for the sector. We have an announcement coming from the organizers of the Nobel Laureate Festival. We're going to let you know how you can be part of that. But first of all, an update on the COVID-19 front. Our status here in St. Lucia, we did record new cases, just 2 new cases of COVID-19 for the last 24 hours. Wednesday, the 6th of January 2021, the Ministry of Health received confirmation of 2 new cases of the coronavirus, and this is from a batch of 85 COVID-19 tests that were conducted at the Ezra Long Laboratory. This brings the total number of cases diagnosed in country to 382. And just to let you know, the 2 cases are non-nationals. Case number 381 is a 19-year-old female. And case number 282 is a 51-year-old female as well. These individuals were placed in quarantine pending receipt of their test results. They have since been placed in isolation. The Ministry of Health has recorded a total of 294 recoveries to date, with 83 active cases presently in country. There is an appeal, a continued appeal on the part of the Ministry of Health and Wellness for us to practice the infection prevention and control measures to minimize the risk, the spread of COVID-19, this virus. So remember, guys, to wash your hands frequently. Use hand sanitizer if you're not near a faucet. observe the 6-foot distance, it still happens, and understandably you may not be conscious of it, but at this point in time, as much as we are concerned for our kids returning to school and we're exercising caution to the greatest degree, we need to exercise concern for these very simple measures, because while you may be worried about your kids at school, you may very well be putting your kids at risk by not adhering to these very simple infection prevention guidelines by just going to town and running simple errands and what have you. So please also ensure that you avoid contact with individuals who have flu-like symptoms. If you have flu-like symptoms, try not to go to work. Do not go to work. Do not go to work. Please stay home, go to a respiratory center, as a clinic as soon as possible to see if you fit the bill for COVID-19, get tested, get assessed so that you can be cleared hopefully for the virus. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, that is, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is indicating that they will continue to provide updates as new information becomes available. We are due for another break. When we come back, you're going to find out how you can be involved in the Nobel Laureate Festival celebrations happening this month from the 11th to the 31st of January 2021. We have Herma DeMac on the other end of this break to give us a comprehensive look at what is happening for the observance.
Coronavirus? But children are safe, no?
Hold up. Children are actually more likely to touch all kinds of surfaces, put their hands on their mouths and their eyes, or sneeze and cough with little thought about hygiene when around others. While children have been seen to recover well from this virus, they can easily spread it to those more at risk, like the elderly or ill persons who have a weaker immune system. Teach the little ones in your care to be little powerhouses of infection prevention. Keep reminding them, wash your hands. Cover your mouth with tissue or your inner elbow when you sneeze and cough. And be sure to praise them when you see them taking these precautions. Our health is in our hands. Together, through simple actions, we can stop the spread of coronavirus. This message was brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And finally, for the morning, the annual celebration of St. Lucia's Nobel laureates takes on a new mode this year due to COVID-19. However, the spirit and the significance of the month-long Nobel Laureate Festival has not been dimmed. We have more in this report, comprehensive report from Herma DeMac. Take a look.
The Nobel Laureate Festival Committee officially launched its 28th anniversary of activities honoring St. Lucia's 2 Nobel laureates, Sir William Arthur Lewis, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences in 1979, and Sir Derek Alton Walcott, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1992. This year's activities are being held under the theme Celebrating Excellence, Challenge, Uncertainty, Opportunity. Chair of the Nobel Laureate Festival Committee, Her Excellency Dame Paulette Louisy, explained that the sub-theme this year has been inspired by the challenge confronting the world for the past year as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The chair noted that it describes the environment in which this year's festival is being observed, and more significantly, it embodies the elements that drive the creative process that ends in excellence.
A challenge confronts the one who seeks to expand the boundaries of his field of endeavor. Then there is a certain measure of uncertainty as he presses on. But the opportunity to make a contribution, whether big or small, cannot be missed. And this is the driving force behind the pursuit and achievement of excellence. And both of our Nobel laureates would have been all too familiar with that process. The reward of this journey is what we celebrate in this annual festival. It is the encouragement we really want to offer all those on that journey. We want you to confront the challenge, circumvent the uncertainty, and by all means, seize the opportunity.
Bank of St. Lucia has been a supporting partner of the Nobel Laureate Festival for over a decade, and is continuing in that vein, lending financial support to the festival in the amount of 5,000 EC dollars. Estelita Cumberbatch is the Bank of St. Lucia's corporate secretary.
The achievements of our Nobel laureates are a clear testament to our potential, and showcasing their work as we are doing through this commendable initiative of the Nobel Laureate Festival Committee goes a long way in building the confidence of our nation, particularly the young population, so they too can aspire to the highest level of their respective fields of endeavor. May this observance continue to inspire and ignite the academic, creative, and artistic pursuits of our young people.
The South Community College will be offering its usual program of activities. A new addition this year will be the opening of the Sir Derek Walcott Library, which will house his impressive collection donated by Ms. Sigrid Nama. Kathy Birch McDermott, acting librarian at the South Community College's Hunter G. Foswell Library, provided some insight into the activities.
In keeping with this year's theme, our planned activities focus on encouraging us as a college to convert contemporary challenges and uncertainties into opportunities. The college's first activity is a virtual academic discourse which takes place on January 20th, 2021 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Finance Administrative Center. Panelists will explore the prospects for the blue economy and discuss the ways in which academia, entrepreneurs, and state agencies can work together to maximize on the burgeoning opportunities.
Walcott Place, managed by the St. Lucia National Trust, will provide a virtual online tour of the facility from the 11th to the 31st of January 2021. The St. Lucia National Trust's virtually guided tour will be presented via two 15-minute videos. The tour aims to give a first-hand look at the history of the Walcott family house in Castries, its architecture, and its impact on the Walcott brothers' life, with particular focus on Sir Derek Walcott, his writings, and watercolor paintings. The St. Lucia National Archives Authority will open its annual exhibition on Wednesday, the 20th of January to the 31st of March 2021, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday in observance of National Archives Month. National Archivist at the St. Lucia Archives Authority, Margot Thomas, explained that the exhibition will be held under the theme with writers, arrangers, producers, music takes flight, and singing begins.
The exhibition places a spotlight on the writers, arrangers, and producers who work or have worked behind the scenes to add to St. Lucia's repertoire of well-loved songs. And we have folk, we have traditional, we have calypso, gospel, ballad, soca, and so on. We are going to be looking at the individuals who write the lyrics, arrange the music, and produce the songs, because very often they go unrecognized and unknown by an unaware public.
Other entities such as the Cultural Development Foundation, CDF, among others, will be staging activities to celebrate St. Lucia's Nobel laureates during the festival. Zoom links and programs will be available on the Facebook page at Nobel Laureate Festival St. Lucia and by request to the coordinator at email address info@ddmediarelations.com or on WhatsApp at 758-717-7979. From the Government Information Service, Wilma DeMark reporting.
Thank you, Huma, for that comprehensive report on the activities we can expect for the Nobel Laureate Festival happening this month. I am big on the lectures, and I see here that for the Sir Arthur Lewis Memorial Lecture, we have Professor Aldry Henry Lee, St. Lucian out of Jamaica. Mona Campus will be presenting for that, and also the Sir Derek Walcott Memorial Lecture will be delivered by Senator Dr. Adrian Auger. Two individuals who presented at the People's Parliament of the UNDP, Jeff, earlier, well, just last year, just bringing out innovative ideas and strategies for us moving into an innovative space for the year, the decade of innovation here in St. Lucia. So definitely looking forward to these two effervescent individuals being able to present and give us a new perspective on these two individuals, and as well as going into the presentations that they have. I believe we have the Professor Aldry Henry Lee presenting on the topic, the title, "We Cannot Breathe, South Louis and Reparatory Justice for the Caribbean," and the presentation, the title of the presentation for Dr. Adrian Auger is "The Whole Country." So definitely looking forward to these two, as well as the other activities for the Nobel Laureate Festival. Just want to remind you that St. Lucia has recorded 2 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. To date, we have had a total of 294 recoveries out of the total number of cases diagnosed, 382 here on island. Of course, we're looking at the differences being the individuals who succumbed, as well as individuals who were non-nationals being repatriated to their homeland countries. We have 83 active cases of COVID-19 here. These individuals are being treated at the respiratory hospital. So please take note of that information. It's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. My name is Jessie Leon, signing off for now. Do enjoy the rest of your day and continue to stay tuned to NTN for the latest updates from the government of St. Lucia. Goodbye.